Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Dynamics Fortnite Fridays.
Where we cover everything dynamics great and small. Welcome to Meteorological Winter, Bart. We're in Minnesota, and how is it?
Well, meteorologists know a lot more than the calendar people right now, because it is definitely feeling like
Let's
winter
go.
around
Let's
here.
go. So, yeah, I'm in the Minneapolis area, and it's supposed to be a high of 0 degrees Fahrenheit, not Celsius, Fahrenheit on Saturday. Below like 30 below wind chills. It's going to be a rough one. So, it's going to
It's
be
gonna be
rough.
good
So,
indoor days, that's for
yes.
sure.
But it's like, going through this rough patch, what would cheer me up is a really good dad joke, or actually a really
All
bad dad joke, Bart.
right.
So
I
what do you
can
got
probably
for me?
fulfill that one. I don't know if I could have
Okay,
fulfilled that
good.
first request.
All right. What do you got for me?
So I went a little themed. So
Okay.
why did people see Frosty the Snowman perusing the vegetable aisle at Cub Foods the other day?
I can't allow snow peas. No. Oh, snap. No. S-
He,
I don't know. What is why?
he was picking his nose.
That's so bad.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, that was fulfilling. So okay,
I love
and I'm
it.
going
That was
back to my that was terrible. So I got my dad jokes
okay.
from
All
my
right, the card is up.
okay
Yep.
from the Gutmans. They sent me this. It's like okay, why was the belt sent to jail?
The belt
This is the belt, BELT. It's nearly as bad as your joke.
buckled under pressure
Oh, that was a good answer, but no, it's for holding up a pair of pants.
for holding up a
Yeah,
pair.
that's
Okay.
terrible. That's
Yeah,
terrible. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
On that note, our content's got to be way, way better than our jokes. So
It's
what do you got this week, Bart?
it's the case with every show. So
Yeah.
let's see if we can get this screen sharing working. So, as we kick things off, we start with Power Platform, of course. And if any of you are not aware of the custom engine, it is a great repository of information from what's now just called the CAT team, the Copilot Advisory Team. I don't, they have not yet gotten rid of all of their sort of PowerCat nomenclature, but this is a best practice for deploying a Copilot Studio agent that has been built in Copilot Studio in Microsoft Teams. And it goes through all kinds of great stuff about what's different about doing it in Teams and just on a website or even in M365 Copilot and what kinds of things that you should be thinking of with nice sample code, benefits of what the various code things are that you're doing, how to think about version control, all kinds of great stuff. And if you just go back to the home, you can see there's lots of good stuff that's getting published out here all the time. I've got a couple of other references, but you can see this one was clear down at the bottom of this list, even though it hasn't been that long since we had our last show. So pay attention to this. And if you ever struggle with something about deployment in Teams, go check that out. The favorites of the What's New in Copilot Studio monthly update series hasn't been updated since the October release, but there was really good stuff in October, and hopefully we'll get another one for the November summary sometime soon. But anyway, evaluations. We've talked about this, I believe, that having that in product to be able to evaluate your agents is a really nice new feature. All the latest OpenAI models, in fact, we just got one yesterday. Now GPT 5.2 is available in Copilot Studio in the preview environments. Express mode is now here in, I believe almost all the environments have been upgraded by now to allow you to use Express mode in this agentic format in agent flows. So make those go really fast. It's best, you can look through all that documentation, but it's really best with small data payloads, but complex business logic for doing the speed up thing. Omnichannel conversations can get file uploads. We've got model context protocol resources that can get after the external files and data. Lots of things for trying to measure ROI and calculate savings and or benefit of the agents that you're building. Analysis of the conversation history to try to group things together by themes and figure out how to address these thematic either benefits that you're going to double down on or issues that you're going to take care of. Activity map has been improved to give you more telemetry and be a little bit more unified about what's really going on across all your agents and sub agents as you're doing testing of things. I think it still can use some work, so I'm hoping they continue to invest in this, but it is significantly better. And then much better governance controls across both Copilot Studio and Copilot Studio Lite, and being able to prevent sharing with everyone if you're in Copilot Studio Lite, which, by the way, I hear the marketing team is going to go back on their branding change there and change it back to Agent Builder for the nomenclature for these Lite Copilot Studio agents. So lots of great stuff in that update. This is a pretty technical article that talks about if you're going to be using automation tools to do evaluations of your Copilot Studio agents, and this is probably outside of the built-in tool, that a best practice is using some APIs that do require Entra ID app registrations, and why you need to follow these instructions. And there's APIs that you might have to just know and not be able to just select out of the normal user interface in order to get at them. So it's good stuff. If you're planning on doing that, take a peek. Another big deal. So computer use is still in preview as part of the Frontier program in Copilot Studio, but a big leap forward is there is now the ability to not just tie a PC to it or a browser to it, but now you can attach an entire pool of cloud PCs to your computer use agent to spread that work out across multiple PCs and make more available PCs out there to just give that access to lots more resource for the computer use needs. Part of Agent 365 is getting a whole slew of new Copilot Studio accessible MCP servers to do lots of things that Microsoft 365 capability has. You can actually invoke the M365 Copilot search as an MCP server from your Copilot Studio agent. So if you were getting better results by querying M365 directly instead of trying to use the SharePoint repository in your Copilot Studio agent, now just tell it whenever you've got an access and a question about a SharePoint data source, use this M365 Copilot search MCP server to go retrieve the data and just display it in your custom agent. And you can do that with SharePoint and OneDrive and Outlook and email and calendar and Word and just all kinds of great stuff. So read through that. Lots of good details. At Ignite, we tried to introduce the future of new app development. And really the big news here is we can now have a vibe code experience that is one with a lot more teeth and the ability to actually get in and work with the code a little bit better. And we've now got vibe.powerapps.com as a way to stitch together that front end that doesn't require nearly as much knowledge of the syntax of PowerFX and everything else in order to stitch together an app that should just work and be hosted within our managed platform. So you can still have governance and restrict what data this vibe coded app has access to and all that kind of stuff. So pretty cool move forward. I'm excited about the possibilities. I'm not quite sure it's ready for enterprise grade app building yet, but it's a fun thing to start playing around with. Along with that Agent 365 capability comes intra-agent IDs to help govern things, and an ability to check a box for a environment where you say, in this environment, this is one where production stuff should get created that I want to be able to manage a lot more closely and have security controls and all that kind of stuff. And I want to check the box to say every agent that gets built here gets an agent ID that shows up in my Intra so that my security people are watching that identity like a lot of others. So nice improvement, both of that agent ID in general and the ability for Copilot Studio to participate in that for what gets built. Claude 4.5 is now available as a model in Copilot Studio, so take advantage of that. I'm not even going to click in. If you struggle with token limits and you're using MCP servers, this is a really great guidance, again, on that custom engine to just pass the MCP resource ID instead of the actual payload of something the MCP server retrieved. And another MCP server can just take that ID and understand how to work with the entire payload. So you're not having to work with all of those input tokens across these LLMs, but just pass the one resource ID. Lots of good instructions on how to do that in here. So big step forward to make it a little easier with token limits. If you haven't seen them, lots of pretty cool new icons for Power Apps and Power Automate, and I think even Power Pages. Copilot Studio has got a new logo. So you can find logos if you want to use them in your presentations or other ways that you're describing it at the link that I gave you here. If that calling of the M365 Copilot API through the MCP server that was just produced doesn't give you quite accurate enough results, and you want to develop a much more precise custom retrieval augmented generation pattern with the data that the M365 Copilot has access to in the semantic index, along with WorkIQ now, that there is a retrieval API you can call, but you have to make either a custom connector or call it through an HTTP endpoint. And this is going to walk you through how to set all that up, how to call it, and how you would use the results of it to make a much more precise answer bot out of that capability. So if that's something that would benefit you, take a look at that. If you use Python all the time for your daily work, and it kind of has become the development language for a lot of AI, you can now directly interact with Dataverse in lots and lots and lots of different ways through an SDK that has just been built to allow you to call it through Python much more simply than just calling its web API. So look for that. If you already have a solution for some Power Apps, Power Automate, whatever it is from a solution standpoint that you pulled together and you did it, a year ago or more, then this ability to have a plan that surrounds it where it will describe the kind of user scenarios first and then give you the data model that it thinks is appropriate for what that use case is and some of those kind of things. Well, you always had to start net new in order to get at that plan capability. Well, now you can choose a solution where a capability exists and say, make me a plan from this so that I get all that other richness and can use AI a little bit more creatively, if you will, to make adjustments and enhancements to that existing solution. So great new capability there. One of the most important parts of building any agent, but especially a Copilot Studio agent, is giving that agent appropriate instructions that it can follow and to understand how it uses those instructions in different contexts and where they work and where they don't. And so this is a really nice article. It's, I think, required reading for anyone who is making agents as a maker in Copilot Studio to understand what your instructions are doing. So especially in this generative orchestration mode, that they aren't nearly as important if you're using the classic orchestration. So I guess that is one little call out there, but take advantage of that knowledge article. If you haven't noticed, Dataverse capacity has received a significant update for everyone who was already using Dataverse through the license entitlements and some other things there, because we understood that Dataverse was getting consumed a little more quickly than it used to be through all the things that we were throwing into our finished SaaS products in the Dynamics world with AI enhancements, and what people were just using it for instead of just as a data repository to power a lot of AI scenarios. It was just bloating quite a bit, and we decided, you know what, we are going to put more value in the licenses that people are investing with us in by giving them more Dataverse capacity so that it was a better value product. So take advantage of all that new capacity, everyone. If you're using Copilot Studio and you are using a custom connector to get at your data repository, making all of that work with single sign-on is a bit of a challenge, but this is a couple of good, a blog post and then a learn post that talks all about how to set up your custom connectors and the app registrations for that to all function seamlessly with single sign-on to the agent. So I'm not going to click through it, but use it if that will help you. It's a nice article that just talks about how to think about grabbing conversation transcripts kind of in bulk and getting them into a repository where you can do better analysis on them to figure out where you want to make new improvements in your agents, where people are stumbling, where you need to change things, add topics, whatever else you might need to do. Use the data and all the gems that are in those transcripts to your advantage. Copilot Studio Kit. Hopefully many of you are using it if you are Copilot Studio organizations, and the Copilot Studio Kit just received an update just a few days ago. So if you didn't notice that, go out and update that to the latest one. I gave you a link here back to the basic app source link to download it to begin with. If you've already got it installed, then the Copilot Studio Kit will be updatable from within the environment, and look at Dynamics 365 apps in there, and it will show that an update's ready. You can just click on it and let the update auto pull from there. If you like the Anthropic data models, one huge benefit that is coming in the very near term, in early January, is that we are going to kind of host those models in Azure, so that we're no longer having to have Anthropic be its own processor that we pass data off into wherever their cloud is, but it will become a sub-processor in the Microsoft ecosystem, so the data stays within the Microsoft ecosystem as Anthropic works on it. So that is a huge step forward if you want to use Anthropic, but do it a little bit more securely without as much data passing between clouds in order to have that logic run. COE Starter Kit, kind of similar to Copilot Studio Kit, that the new version is out, although it doesn't just update from within the Dynamics 365 apps. You actually have to go out and download the solution and upload that solution for the starter kit, but the new solutions are available for the December release, so take advantage. And I talked earlier, GPT 5.2 is now available in Copilot Studio, kind of the way Claude 4.5 is out there, so we're getting those latest models really quick in Copilot Studio. And last but certainly not least in the Power Platform is Dataverse Search. Just got a complete remake. And Dataverse Search powers all kinds of AI experiences, and it certainly powers the search experience inside of a model-driven app if you are using any of our model-driven apps, which the Dynamics kind of CE suite takes advantage of at scale. And there is still a way to turn that Dataverse Search off, but most people use it. And if you are using it, it just got a huge upgrade to be way more agentic, way more flexible at understanding the intent of what you're asking, and being able to basically use a bunch of tools under the covers that we don't expose to you to put the semantic meaning together. And it's not just a SQL query anymore. It's actually an agentic query that is looking across all sorts of different stuff. And you can read much more about it as you get down here and read through under the hood, but it should give you both quicker and way more accurate and relevant results, and receive much more kind of natural English language, if English is your language, much more natural language inputs, and give you a result without just kind of going, huh? Because it's way more of just an agent working up there in that search bar, the way it's been re-architected. So that's a pretty big deal. Now I'm going to quickly go through some CE news. If you are using anything other than Customer Service Workspace, or if you are using Customer Service Workspace and just want your own version of it to make a custom multi-session app, then we now are allowing this and giving you some guidance on how to do it and how to think about it. So big news there. You don't have to just use our pre-built app. Make your own multi-session app, which allows users to have many conversations going at a time with different customers. In our customer service space, we have put quite a few new agents out there, and one of the newest ones is the case management agent, which can now not only respond to cases to kind of automatically update them or create brand new cases like if an email arrives, but even understand based on some user input, probably an incoming email, but could be in other contexts where it comes through a chat or some other place, recognizing that the customer said this case is resolved for me, and it will automatically put the reason in and close the case on your behalf. So I'm not clicking into it. There's lots of good links here to go read up all about the various ways that that works, but getting even more possible to do lots of helpful things for your customer service reps with our pre-built AI agents. Along those lines, there is now a quality evaluation agent, and this one helps you evaluate the quality of what the interactions are that your representatives are having with their customers, including the AI versions of them. So it is a really nice thing that you can put together your criteria and build some plans for how it's supposed to work. And then you get quality scores, predicted answers, and did the real answers meet the predicted answers, and lots of scorecards and other pretty cool stuff. So if you are wanting to get to more consistency and easier evaluation of quality without having to have humans kind of listen in to every call or evaluate lots of transcripts, this is a pretty big step forward. Also, Dan, if you're planning to talk to this, just come off mute and tell me, hey, I've got those new ERP MCP servers, and I'll skip it. But if you don't come off mute, I'll click into it.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to cover that, Bart. So
all right,
this
I'll let
is
you
big,
do
big
that.
news in my world, right?
Those
so
are big.
I can
all
appreciate your enthusiasm, but let me take that one. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Kind of along the lines of agents, we are now also pre-building a customer feedback survey agent that allows the agent to detect that, oh, this looks like the conversation has ended, whatever it is. In this case, it's a chat that has been closed, and automatically give the kind of customer an agentic experience to gather some feedback of whether that was a helpful chat or not, and those kind of things, instead of it just popping up, the form that they have to fill out or making them talk to someone. They can make it an AI agent to do that survey feedback stuff. And last on my list, if you are in our contact center area, we can now use timeout rules to both send messages to people. This is especially in the web chat space or any of those sort of asynchronous channels. It will let you set thresholds for how long you should sit there waiting for a customer to do something before it just automatically asks them some questions. And then you can also say, after however many attempts, if they still haven't responded, go ahead and just let them know you're closing it, but going ahead and closing the chat. So the human doesn't have to keep checking back on that one that's been sitting stagnant in their kind of work queue for a while. It'll just take care of all of it on their behalf. So that was my updates. Dan, take it away.
All kinds of great stuff, right? So it's like, I got some stuff to talk about, including MCP servers, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But I'm going to start out with just some Business Central updates for 27.2, right? So not a ton of updates on 27.2. So first of all, there's some, country and regional updates. So it's like, for Czechia, there's VAT and value-added tax updates for return lines. So some updates for that, for those localizations. What I found really interesting is I didn't realize the total number, Bart, but there says 170 different countries where we're localized for for Azure and Business Central. So it's like, that's a lot. That's the vast majority of anywhere on the planet where we're going to do business. So, these numbers kind of sneak up on you. I thought that was really impressive and really important. So a couple things. So, on e-documents, right? So this started out as a European standard, now it's an international standard, right? So we added new features for document types and e-documents for shipment and transfer types to comply with regulations, regulatory transfers. That's important not only for Europe, but Mexico has got a lot of those type of things too, right? Also, ForNav, PEPL connector. So PEPL was the international framework for financial integration, right? So ForNav is another partner that we use for those integrations. So it's either B2B or B2G, or some business to business or business to government. But along with that, we're working with other partners, not only Avalara, Pagero, SignUp, Logic, Cortinia, but you also have ForNav as an option for those connectors. So this is really started out in Europe. It's going international. U.S. is a little bit behind, but for our U.S. friends, it's like you probably want to investigate this a little bit. Eventually, that's going to come around. Probably the next administration, we have some more regulation on that too. Also, for financial management, there's new SEPA file for the CAM 2025. But this is really just for ISO integrations for banking standards, right? So it meets the standard of that. So again, if you're doing that European standard for integrations, we comply to that. The last two things on NAV are really about sustainability. And sustainability, again, Europe is leading the charge on all of this. But with the ESRS, that's the European sustainability report standard, right? So it's like, so we make sure we match that. Remember, we have the sustainability module within Dynamics as well, but we also have that along with the corporate sustainability reporting, directive reporting. So again, we have the standardization for that, for reporting for sustainability. And then ESG's reporting. So on the ESG reporting as well within Business Central. So that's environmental standard governance on that. So that's what's happening in Business Central. In HR, there's a couple of, actually about 3 updates onto that. So first of all, it's like expired jobs and job titles. So if you may change the job title. So it's like, Bart and Max, this very well. Every once in a while they change their title, but don't change their jobs. So I'm now a solution engineer when I was a technical specialist last year, right? So they expired the job title, but the job is still relatively the same. We need to have the history on that. So it's like we can manage things like that. We've also enabled the recruitment add-on. I've talked about the recruitment add-on. I think I talked about that first in September, October time period. So we have a new recruiting module that's now fully released, and also recruiting enhancements within that recruiting module. So not a ton on HR, but again, as I was telling you this last summer, we brought it back into the platform. We're adding a lot, and it's like we're starting to develop at an accelerated rate now in HR. So. But really what's important, and I'm going to get to some important things on cross-platform. So first of all, with cross-platform, we made some changes to the query timeout settings, right? So it used to be a 30-minute timeout, so you have to kind of wait for it to time out. Now we're doing a 5-minute timeout for most everything except for OData and batch, because those can actually take longer, right? And it's like, so for my friends out there, I call OData with the ERP slow data. You only use it for small amounts, and so you don't want to do it like at a batch or an API level on that. So we've brought those to 10 minutes. And so we've been throttling to make it much more efficient. But the big thing I want to talk about this fortnight is this Model Context Protocol, or MCP. So this is actually changed the whole world of my ERP upside down in what we can actually do with copilots or with AI. So before we released this, we had 13 or 16 different Copilot queries that actually were out of the box, right? But the development team has started working on this and built the foundation from way back when, so we can actually start doing this Model Context Protocol, which is an Anthropic standardization. It's not necessarily from Microsoft, but everybody's using this across the board. But what allows us to go from like 13 or 16 different queries within our functions and workflows within AI to over 500,000 out of the box. So all of a sudden we can start interrogating the different ERP standards, right? Or the information that we have in our ERP. So not only can you open something, you can actually update, you can do whatever, and it's like, it's logical, it's context, it allow you to do what you need out of it. So, the business processes are going to be standardized, especially the financial stuff within the ERP, but the Model Context Protocol is going to allow you to use the data and as a kind of a natural language query, right? To get the information that you want to get out, and it's like interrogate the system to what you need. But it also follows and adheres to your security and what you have access to. So this is a really a big deal. And on this one, it's 10.0.46, which is a preview. And if you have access to a preview environment, I'm speaking to all you IT folks, make sure you spin this up, make sure you run it. It actually shows you how to set this up, and it is a wow tool for us in ERP. Me and a few colleagues were kind of chatting over the last couple of weeks that we're actually doing some things, and we're going, and I'm pretty jaded. I've been doing this for a long time. Wow, this is amazing. You just see this? I just did a credit check on this. I just ordered another order for this. I just did some master data, and I updated this, and it adhered to all the security rights that we had. So I suggest that you look at this, because this is a game changer for ERP. It goes from just a transactional set and a baseline set to what can I really get out of what information, and how can I optimize my business processes within the ERP. So for us, this was a game changer, and And thank you, Bart, for letting me discuss this and not taking my thunder on that one. So
And
this was a big deal to me. Yeah.
one other
Yeah.
one that I don't see highlighted on your list there is that there is also a Dynamics ERP Analytics MCP server specific for getting analytics out.
Yes, yes. And it's like, I'll highlight that on the next one and make sure that we have the highlight on there.
Perfect.
But it's like,
Perfect.
okay, so it's let alone be able to do the transactional sets, but the analytical sets to really get some insight. And I don't know if I say that I coined this because I was the first one that ever came up with this, but an ERP will run your business, and that's just fine. BI or analytics will manage your business, so you can get real insights and maybe make decisions on that. So Bart, I think on the next show I'll spend a little bit of time, and you and I can kind of
Perfect.
discuss that together. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
So anyway, so that was a big deal, right, for the MCP. And so there's also one more. The DMF integrates with the application insights. So data management framework, right, to be able to get like large amounts of data back and forth, right? So now we have insights to see how these are running or are integrating together. So that's an important one. But again, the MCP server was just a big deal in my world. Let's go back to the features, right? It's kind of my meat and potatoes. This is what everybody in ERP lives and dies with and breathes every day. So first of all, there's been some enhancements in the inventory. So we've added some enhanced traceability and tracking attributes within the system, right? So we have the traceability module add-on, right? And that's a C module that we did. We can configure different fields on that. So it's like not only quality control fields or other dimensional fields, but it's like if you can actually define what traceability fields that you want. So you can actually put that into Power App. It might be a text or a Boolean or enum or just a number itself. So you can customize what you want to be able to trace out of that traceability. Also, we've added some improvements. We did an acquisition of some quality IP from our friends at Alethea a while back, and now that's fully integrated into the systems. Now, we can enable QC or quality control with sample management, right? So we can plan for the sampling, how much do we want to sample, how much do we want to, when do we want to sample it, at what percentage, just like, how many lots or skip lots and things like that. We can find the testing samples and how to test. We can block a portion that are not tested. So if they haven't been tested, so we can't allow those to be pulled from inventory, and we can keep track of those samples, right? So we actually have the sampling just if we need to actually go back and test that, which is really important for food and pharma business. But not only that, it can be like inline or a continuous process. So it's like in inline, it's like, okay, we have a batch that's going to go through, but if it's continuous process, like if you're doing a beverage, it's like they just keep on going and going and going and going and going, right, for days and days and weeks, we do that with the sample management, which weren't able to do before. Also, we can manage test instrument calibration and asset management. So I've talked about asset management for the last couple of years, a great module, right? So if you think of it as a plant and equipment maintenance for break fix or preventive maintenance, it's like, so we did all that for your assets within the organization. But now we have that for not only that for calibration and tooling. So I have a daughter that is a biological engineer. She's working at a very large agribusiness, right? And she works in the lab, and it's like one of her favorite days is calibration day. So I love the girl; she's a geek, right? But that's really important to be able to track that and make sure that they're right. That says volumes, doesn't it, Bart? Right? But it says it's like, when do we need to calibrate that? It's like how much they off, and it's like, so when you have to go back and test these things, or it's like go back and validate the testing procedures on that, we have that full traceability in those digital records, right? So it's automated into the quality tracking and the quality orders, which ones they were actually tracked on since calibration. And so we also do the proactive calibration scheduling on that. So it's like it's got to be every 6 months or whatever to make sure that they're calibrated correctly. Couple other things on this. So we have custom price attributes for POS and e-commerce. So a few years ago, we had a very, very good POS or point of sale or e-commerce pricing engine, right? So it could do buy one get one, or it's like buy three get for $5 or whatever it might be, right? So there's all kinds of different things that we did within the e-commerce system or the commerce system that we didn't do within the ERP. Well, we developed this, the pricing attributes for within the the pricing attributes tool within the ERP. But we didn't have the attributes within the POS, so we backported that into POS in the commerce section. Another thing that we have is that we can calculate prices without creating an order. So, you don't want to create an order for everything that you actually want to calculate prices on. So we're actually doing that now, makes it much more efficient. A few more things that we have in supply chain, and we'll cover some finance on the next show. But on asset management, we allow remarks to be captured on the lifecycle service, or like on the changes on that. So it's just a simple text field that we can put in there that are associated with that change in lifecycle services. Okay, this is in production now because X was fully installed or whatever it might be. Another thing is view calibration tools from the test instruments. That's from the asset management we just talked about. So we can actually view instead of having going to that create screen to that. Another big one is like allow inventory consolidations without closing. So it's like you have to do the monthly close, for moving average or standard cost items. But the thing about consolidations or inventory transactions is like you have so many because every single movement actually creates a record. And it just pollutes your database after a while, right? You don't need that. So what we want to do is we want to take those millions and millions of transactions and consolidate those into what we need and reduce that size and increase the performance on that. So now we can do that without having to do the closing. So it keeps everything performant on that. We also added some things on consider only release demand for supply and DDMRP is like direct demand MRP, right? So that says it's like, okay, what do we have for green? This what do we have for yellow? That's a buffer. Or red is we absolutely have to have those at different locations. It's basically a different way to do distribution that simplifies everything. So now we're considering release demand for that instead of planned demand. So just like make sure there's like it's tighter on your control with that. For production management, we can auto-complete secondary operation with the primary. So for instance, we do some really clever things on the routing that allow you to have secondary operations where maybe two people have to work on the same time on something. So if you're building something like a big piece of heavy equipment, it's in one location and you have three different people working on it at the same time. And that can be like a secondary operation or the same time operation. So what we're allowing is it's all three of us working on this. It's like, let's record the same time on that. So let's do secondary, tertiary operations at the same time. So it makes it easier to report so you can get an accurate idea of the cost and the time that it actually takes to manage. A couple things on shop floor control, and these are things I've been asking for a while. So I love it that they release these. On the shop floor control on the manufacturing execution system, right? Production floor execution interface is what we call it. Now we can see the material list. Before we could actually see the material list and just see what we're going to do and change those. We just made it a better view. The second thing is we can do serial number reporting from a single unit on that. Just makes it easier. It was a little bit more convoluted to do that on the first release on that. So we just improved the usability on that to be able to track the serial number settings on that. So you don't actually have to pick one and you can actually do it afterwards. The third thing, and this is the one that I've been asking for years, is we can allow quality tests from the production floor. So doing a quality order, we would have to do a quality or a quality inspection, do a quality order. It would be from a different interface, and it wouldn't be from the shop floor execution or the manufacturing floor execution. Now we can do it right from the production control. So for me, this is a big, big deal, right? It's just the way that actually people work and do things. Just a few more things that I have. So unified pricing and performance improvements. We talked a little bit about unified pricing on the commerce. It was we're just making it much more performant, less chatty on that. We can create sales orders directly from the navigation pane instead of drilling into something again, a little easier on that. We can do some dynamic work calculations. So these are three things on warehouse. So it enables the classification on the warehouse by just writing a PowerX expression, right? So if you make a Power App or something really easy, if you want to turn that to work, change the pool, change the priority, do class overrides, that allows you to do it. The last two things that I have on this are, so order committed reservations now supported and allow reservations on demand orders. So it's like this allows the outbound shipment line transactions that that based on the inventory dimension, whether it be batch or serial numbers, located on the hierarchy, right? So before it was at location level. Now we actually do it to the serial number level. So it just makes it more granular, right? And the very last thing I have is outbound shipment processes policies to better handle scenarios where ship quantity differs from the order quantity. So you can actually change the ship quantity, but if somehow you have to reverse that, I'll actually go back to the actual ship quantity that you did, and then revert it back to the quantity that they wanted at the time. So sometimes you have catch weights or things that differ in those quantities that's a necessary component. So quite a bit in supply chain management. Again, the MCP server is like if you are an ERP guy or person, excuse me, make sure you drill into this because this is a game changer in how it all works and how it makes it so much easier to interrogate the system and get what you need out of it. So with that, Bart, I think we're going back to our normal ending. So it's like there's a lot of updates on this since we've last spoken.
Yeah.
And if you want some more details, yeah. So you want some more details and look for updates, there we go. But again, good show, bad jokes today.
And since the next planned date is the day after Christmas, I'm not planning on being here. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I think we should just delay till early January.
Yeah, I'm gonna be working on like digesting some Christmas meals, honestly.
There you go.
Yeah, I won't be around. So with that, I'm gonna say
January
so long.
9th is the next time we'll have a show, and have a great holiday season, Dan. Tell your family hi, and we'll
All
talk
right,
to you
see you in
soon in the new year.
fortnights. Okay, bye.
Bye.